この感触、この匂い。ハンバーガーがドリンクポテト付きで出てきた。
Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So I was hoping to get up some sim videos for you guys today, but Batsu put up a new update and I was not fast enough on the draw to get the download. So I'm currently waiting for the download limit to reset so that I can get a chance to download the new version of Sim and play some Brook and other decks here in the OP15 meta. That said, this morning we got some new card reveals that I thought were worth going over in the context of one of our older decks, Black Crocodile. So these are announced in in the Japanese language. We don't know when they'll come out in English yet. Based on how they're being distributed, which is one of the folder things like we've seen with some of the premium Bandai collections and stuff like that. I expect this will come out in English in premium Bandai, which means that it won't be here for a while, but definitely interesting to see how these are going to play in our Black Crocodile deck. These are the live action versions of cards, and we get a whole group of new Baroque Works agents in black to use with Mono Black Crocodile. So I'll just hop into it. First up here we have a Crocodile. He's a 6 cost, 8,000 power with on play. If there is a character with a cost of 0, this character gains Rush during this turn. So the 6k is the first thing that jumps out to me, and unfortunately it is a knock against it. If this was a 5 cost 7,000, this would be really strong, I think, because it would be playable off of Miss All Sunday. But I can understand why they didn't want to do that for flavor reasons, having her having Crocodile listen to Miss All Sunday in the context of the story. That said, this card I think is maybe playable as a one-of. This is definitely not a card that you're very interested in because Rush is not generally how the deck is going to play and kind of work out. Having a single copy of it does give you some angles to win, but that single copy, because it has no counter, also has the chance to break you. But I could see this being something that you retrieve off of a Mr. 4 blocker on a turn just before you're ready to go for game. And in that situation, it's not the worst. It does fit alongside a Ground Death on that turn so that you can play Ground Death, negate one of their blockers, then play this out and get a whole bunch of what's called swings at lead. This fresh one being one that your opponents have difficulty planning for, but they do get to see you retrieve it off of Mr. 4 if you are required to use that block earlier in the turn. So all in all, I think at best a tech card for this one, which is a little disappointing to see for a Crocodile card, but still glad to have these sorts of options available to us. After that, we have Mr. 3, Galino. He is a 5 cost, 6,000 power with 1k counter, and he has blocker and activate main once per turn. If there's a character with a cost of 0 or with a cost of 8 or more, give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to one of your leader or characters. So the way I see this one is just as an alternative to Mr. 5 from the main set. Being able to get a blocker with some fringe benefits. Fringe, I say, this Rested Dawn is probably unlikely to make a big difference. It does make your 6Ks into 7Ks, which can be a useful break point. And it does work pretty well against 6K leaders because it lets your leader swing at theirs with more consistency. But relative to your other 5 drops, I don't see this one as my top pick. I think I would rather run, if I'm running a 5 cost 6,000 power blocker, I'd rather it be Mr. 5. But as a 1 or 2 of, this is definitely possible to help balance out particular metas where you need to deal with a 6k leader or something like that with more frequency. So yeah, another pretty good tech option. I think this one might see play more frequently than the Crocodile, but I don't think that a 4 of this one is good compared to the 4 of Mr. 5. Next up we have, speaking of Mr. 5 here, he is a 5 cost 6,000 power 1k counter with Character Rush, and on play, if there's a character with a cost of 0 or a cost of 8 or more, draw 2 cards and trash 1 from your hand. I think this one's actually really good. One of the things that was always an issue with the other character that we have in the deck that has Character Rush is Mr. 1, is that sometimes you don't need the resting mode. So this being a version that can get the Character Rush without having to have a kind of a wasted on play, giving you some value here with the draw 2 trash 1, is actually really strong. It also plays really well with Miss Wednesday, the 2k counter off of Miss All Sunday, giving you a lot of access to swings. If your opponent already has rested the guy that they're interested in. And so having some number of each of this and Mr. 1 is going to be important for giving you the flexibility to kind of adapt to what your opponent's board is presenting to you. If you're playing against a Mihawk, for example, their characters are going to be rested because of their leader ability a lot more. So using this one will be quite effective at getting in while also being card neutral. And that's just a pretty good place to be. So I think that this one, out of the 3 we've looked at so far, is the highest on my list. Moving on to the next one, we have Miss All Sunday. She is a 5 cost 6,000 power 1k counter with on play, you may KO one of your characters of the type, including Baroque Works. Draw 1 card. So this is really interesting. It being a 5 cost really makes it an interesting place on the curve. I think if you're playing this on 5 and getting rid of maybe one of your early 2Ks that you're just trying to get some extra value out of, maybe you had to play out Golden Week on an earlier turn, this could be pretty interesting, maybe on a 6 Dawn turn as well, where you haven't found what you wanted for other angles. You can play out a what's it called, a 1-drop, and still have access to your leader ability for maybe a Mr. 2 that you had played out on a prior turn. So definitely one that I'm interested in seeing how it plays. The other thing that this one does, kind of awkwardly at 5 cost, but still quite strong, is it works at giving you an extra trigger of your Crocodile leader. So if you have just a single Crocodile and you haven't found a second one, and then what you can do with this is play out for 5 Dawn and use the on KO to KO your Crocodile a second time, essentially giving you 2 freezes with your Crocodile without using up or without needing to play Crocodile from your hand. That does give you more Dawn to work with so that you could play out something like a Mr. 4 from your hand, or a Mr. 5, or a number of different cards. And it makes the reliance on your top end a little bit less, which I do think is a really good thing. I do think that because it requires, if you want to play it off of the previous Miss All Sunday, it does require using your leader ability on the Mr. 2. So you won't be able to maximize your ability, but there is some value in being able to Mr. 2, play Miss All Sunday to get Mr. 2 and some 1-drop. Use the leader ability on your Mr. 2 to KO, or use your leader ability on him, summon Miss All Sunday, then use Miss All Sunday on Crocodile to give you the freeze. allowing you to get the single freeze, still trigger your freeze, while still generating extra bodies. Because that's one of the things that can sometimes be awkward is you can't get out your larger bodies off of Miss All Sunday while still using your leader ability, because the Mr. 2 uses up your leader ability, which would deny you your freeze. If this is the card you're getting off of Mirror Mr. 2, then you're getting a little bit more power, you're getting an extra draw, and you're still getting the extra freeze off of Crocodile. So all in all, I think this is a really interesting card. I don't think you want it at 4, but I don't think you want it at 0 either. This is definitely a card to figure out the correct ratio somewhere along the way, balancing the early game plays, which I do think are relevant, and maybe some of the later game plays as well. Interesting card overall. After that, we have Miss Wednesday. 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter with on play, draw 1, trash 1 from your hand. Already a great style line here. This is another card that you can play rather than playing out Mr. 2. So just something to keep in mind. And then she has on KO, if your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, your opponent trashes 2 cards from their hand. The way I see this playing out most frequently is on the turns where you want to late game try to go for game. You can use your leader ability on this rather than on your freezes, giving you access to a way to strip cards out of their hand, making your crocodiles more lethal. This is also good as a 4-drop that you just play out and you don't activate right away, and it has the threat of always being able to swing into your opponent. If you haven't found a Mr. 2, I think Mr. 2 is probably better than this one on 4 in almost all situations. But I do think having the option of having just more 4 costs that are nice to play early is just a great place to be, especially because it does exert hand pressure on them, which can help you go for lethal. That's one of the things, at least in my regionals experience, that I was having difficulty with, is my opponent would just have too many cards in their hand at the end of the game, and having access to a tool like this may have made those lethals a lot easier to find. So definitely one I'm interested in. Again, like with all of the other ones, I don't think you want to run this at 4 of, but I do think that having access to this one in some number so that you can find it by the end of the game is actually really good. So another great card all in all. Next up, we have Mrs. Golden Week, a 1 cost, 2,000 power, 1k counter with on KO, draw a card, and then rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 0. I do think that this one's actually pretty interesting as a card that, especially if you can find a way to get one out early. Maybe you have a turn where you play a Miss All Sunday and you don't need to use your 1-drop for something. You can use this as a kind of preemptive card to leave on battlefield. Forego a search, maybe 1 turn with a Miss Valentine to get this on the board. And then in a future turn, when you're ready to go for lethal, you can use your leader ability, which will resolve before the on KO of this one does, to reduce something to 0 and then rest it, allowing you to bypass a blocker with just the use of your leader ability and no need to use Ground Death. It also leaves up the ability to use Ground Death on a second blocker, which I do think is going to be a pretty strong play pattern, especially because you don't have to worry very much about the cost to this. That said, it is one that you have to kind of get down. It's not a 2k counter, and it is only a 1 cost 2k. So there's a lot of things not in its favor. But worst case being a draw card is fine as a card. Sometimes we would play out Miss Merry Christmas and just pop her immediately with leader ability just to get the draw in the cycle, because sometimes you won't have what you need. So having this in as a 1k could be good in the slots where you're like, oh, do I want to go to 12 2Ks or do I want to shave? If you wanted to shave some number of 2Ks, this would be a reasonable card to put in their place while still preserving they're kind of spot on the curve. Next up, we have Miss Valentine. She's a 3-cost, 3,000 power, 1k counter with, if there is a character with a cost of 0 or a cost of 8 or more, this character gains 2,000 power. And on KO, add up to 1 character card with a type, including Baroque Works, from your trash to your hand. Another interesting one, I don't know when is the correct time to play this one, because I feel like often on turn, on your 3-Dawn turn, you want to just be playing out searchers anyways, because you want to get your trash churning. That said, if you were taking the deck in a little bit more of an aggressive angle, where you're trying to play pretty heavy tempo and then just use your crocodiles as ways of keeping your opponent from being able to kill you while you continue to aggro them out, I could see this having some value. The ability to be a vanilla attacker with some extra value here, whereas if your opponent does go to kill it, which they probably will, only being a 3k, it'll probably effectively be a vanilla that draws you a card, which isn't the worst place to be. 3 is a pretty awkward number on the chart, but this would be one that I would watch, particularly for other synergies, in case there is another card that comes into the game that slots into the deck that can revive a 3-cost. This would be a pretty useful card to get revived off of another card, especially in a deck that is this graveyard centric. If you just have a single copy of this just to revive off of another better card, this could be really useful as a tech option. Moving on, that is the last of the cards. So all in all, I think that there's a lot of interesting tech. I think this deck, Black Crocodile, is going to be a very interesting deck with the ratios that you want to build. Because there's a strong balance between having access to effects that you might be interested in and having consistency. And I think that balance is going to be really interesting. I think in particular we have the Mr. 3 and Mr. 5 from this set are going to be really interesting, and how they interact, and you can adjust your ratios around having blockers or rushers with different abilities than you see on your current set, and then picking the right ratio of them so that you have access to the ideal one in any situation is going to be really interesting. And then I also think that Miss All Sunday is going to be a really interesting card, giving a lot of new lines of play that you wouldn't have otherwise. So all in all, I think this set's going to be really interesting. The biggest downside is being that it's going to likely come from Premium Bandai, which means we have to wait a good long while for it. But nonetheless, I am looking forward to it, and we'll definitely give it a try when it does come out. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. I do think that there's probably something I missed here, so let me know in the comments if there's any other angles that I missed. But that's all for today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.